Welcome, everyone. I'm Karni Tomer, food explorer. I live in Singapore for 10 years. I came for half a year, but the food was so good, so I decided to stay.
Good reason.
A true story. I have a company for Makan Tours, which is food tours, and we work together in a team with Lionel and other foodie guides that are really passionate about food. So my goal is to make people happy in these Corona days. That's why I have a daily life in half English, half Hebrew every day, one recipe a day to take the Corona away. And since I know so many, how do I say, talented people around the world that love food, I decided to create my group, which is called Foodies in Asia, and to host my colleagues to share about their country, to take us for 1 hour from our isolation situation. Hi, let's start. Yes.
Great. So actually, before I introduce myself, I'm going to start and I want to get you in the mood. So we are going to see exactly 59 seconds of Florence. So yes, I hope you enjoyed a little bit of the view of Florence. My name is Teperberg. I originally am from Israel, but I've been living in Italy for the last about 4 years. I'm a licensed tour guide. I arrived for the first time when I was 7 years old, and I completely fell in love with Italy and Tuscany. And I decided right there and then that I want to live in Italy. And it took me 20-something years, but I did it and I moved, and my husband and I live in Florence. And I'm a tour guide in the whole of Italy. I specialize in tours in the Vatican and Rome for art and culture, but obviously living in Florence, my passion is for Florence and also for Tuscan cuisine. And I'm here to take you on a journey through the Tuscan culinary, but also we are going to cook today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the Italian cuisine, and then we're going to cook. So first of all, I want to say something about the Italian kitchen. Everyone has this kind of idea of what Italian cooking is, but we are going to see that, yes, I'm going to share my presentation again. The Italian cuisine is very different. It's very regional. Italy is quite large. You can see here the different regions of Tuscany. Can you see my mouse going? Yes. So Lazio is the area where Rome is. Rome is the capital of the region of Lazio. And this is Tuscany, Toscana in Italian. And the capital of Tuscany is, of course, Florence. So this is where I live. And each region has its own cuisine, so it's very, very different. I mean, the typical food you would eat in Calabria or in Puglia or in Sicily is very different from what you would eat in Lazio or Tuscany, and it's different from Piemonte, Emilia-Romagna, Lombardia, Veneto, etc. So there's not only one Italian cuisine, and this is very important to understand. And I'm going to talk about the Tuscan cuisine, which I like very much. And I have to make a personal confession. When you eat Italian food in Israel, you usually eat something very, very, like spicy, using a lot of garlic, a lot of herbs. And this is not necessarily the case for Tuscan cuisine. Tuscan cuisine has a lot of respect for the raw material. And this means not using many spices. I know you are all accustomed to the Thai kitchen, or even the Indian cuisine, or very, very spicy and strong flavors. In Tuscany, there is a lot of respect for the products and the quality of the products, which means sometimes even just the product with very little salt or a little bit of pepper. It's very, very delicate in flavors. And it took me a lot of time to get accustomed to the idea, because I had to mentally, psychologically let go of my idea of Italian cuisine before I was actually able to kind of, in a way, cleanse my palate and appreciate the quality of olive oil, of wine, of a good cheese, of even the taste of really high quality flour. And this was still, it's an ongoing process. These are a few photos of, I thought I would just start with taking your eyes out a little bit and making you want to visit Florence. These are a few photos that I took from the markets in Florence. Here you can see fiori di zucca, which is the flowers of zucchini or pumpkins. And usually they stuff them with ricotta cheese or in Parmigiano cheese, and then you can either eat it fresh or fried. It's fantastic. Here you can see a variety of cheeses. This is one of my favorite small markets in Florence, which is called Sant'Ambrogio. Next time you arrive to Florence, look for this small local market, which is not the touristic one, and I like it very, very much. And yes, fresh. Here we have oranges and pompello, which is grapefruit and citrus and stuff like that. We have to understand that Tuscany is in a big part countryside, and the agriculture is very, very developed. So we get a lot of fresh, beautiful, these tomatoes are special for, they're very, very good for making tomato sauce. They look strange, they look like aliens, but they're very, very, they have a lot of, they're very juicy and have a lot of meat. So you get a lot of fresh products from the area surrounding Florence. This is my husband sniffing a bunch of basilico, because the first thing you ever want to do with so much beautiful basil is just to sniff it until you drop. This here is an example of Napolitan Pizza place in Florence. Now I want to talk, I said that Italy is a very regional cuisine, so pizza is traditionally from the south of Italy. And so when you look for a nice, good quality pizza, you should definitely ask for the Napolitan. Even if you arrive to Florence, just ask, where is the pizzaiuolo from? Where is the pizza maker from. And in this case, it's a very, very nice place in Florence. It's called Ocore o Napoli. This is, I cannot say it in dialect because their dialect is very different from Italian. And here you can see how Salvatore is making the dough. He's actually slicing the dough to make the pizza. Obviously, he's very, very professional, so he knows exactly the quantity without even weighing the pizza. And this is the classic, the classic tomato sauce and mozzarella and basilico, and of course, a nice squirt of olive oil. And it's fantastic, so simple and so great. Here, obviously, you can see some examples of what Italy is famous for. Here we have gelato, we have ice cream, which in Italy is not made, it's usually not made of cream, but of, I think, 6 to 8% fat milk, which makes it a little lighter than American ice cream. And this is divine. This is from Milano. The Milanese, the people from Milano can recognize this ice cream from Cioccolati Italiani. This, however, is a fantastic place for coffee near the same market in Sant'Ambrogio. Coffee obviously is a very important part of the Italian tradition. Here's some other stuff you can get on the market. This is like a pizza with no cheese, but a lot of vegetables grilled. This is a fantastic place in another market for fresh pasta. And we're going to come back to, these are ravioli stuffed with ricotta cheese and lemon zest, which is absolutely divine. It's as if you're eating some kind of perfume, citrus perfume. It's fantastic. And we're going to talk about ravioli a little bit later. Now, I said that the Italian cuisine is very different from what we might think. And I want to talk a little bit about the Tuscan cuisine in particular. The Tuscan cuisine is, it's called La Cucina Povera, the poor kitchen, because although, I'm sorry, Eyal is asking, this ravioli is from, I couldn't see it, sorry. This ravioli is from Mercato San Lorenzo, giusto? Yes, yes, fantastic. Mercato San Lorenzo in Florence. So cucina povera means poor kitchen. This is a farmer's kitchen. Although Florence for many, many years, for hundreds of years, was one of the most rich cities in Italy, in Europe, the kitchen, the cuisine is quite simple. It's a farmer's simple. Buontalenti ice cream is from Florence. Omer is asking, is Buontalenti ice cream is from Florence? Yes. Buontalenti was an artist and an architect who in the 16th century he claims to have invented ice cream, or reinvented ice cream. Let's call it like this. I don't want to offend anyone because ice cream, in fact, is something very, very ancient. But yes, the Florentine like to believe they invented it. So what is special about it? It's kind of it's a cream with based on like milk and vanilla cream with eggs inside in the mixture. And you know, every ice cream place in Florence has their own buontalenti. It's a little bit different, but this is the base cream with eggs and sometimes some spices inside. Maybe some nutmeg, something that they used to have in the 16th century in Florence. There's not just one recipe. when you ask the average Italian person who is the best chef in the world, the answer is very simple. Mia nonna, my grandmother. Okay, not even the mother, the grandmother. This is very important.
Also my nonna.
Yes, definitely. This is, I think it is maybe something common for the entire world, but for the Italians are very, very, very attached to their grandmothers. So, this is why I say that La cucina italiana, the Italian kitchen, is the kingdom of the Italian grandmother. And this is why we will, in the typical cuisine, we will not see very fancy dishes. This is like the stuff that your grandmother would cook. You would not see it in a Michelin restaurant. You could, but never mind. And the Florentine claim to have invented several very famous sauces, which is the main one, very, very famous, is the besciamella, which is the bechamel sauce. It's said that Caterina de' Medici was the daughter of the very, very, very famous and rich family of the Medici in Florence. In 1547, married King Henry II in France, the King of France. She became the Queen of France, and she brought with her her entire crew of staff of cooks, and she brought the bechamel sauce. She's said to have brought also the ice cream to France, and the fork, which was invented, if you don't mind, by Leonardo da Vinci. So moving on, this is the tiramisu. This is a very sexy version of the tiramisu. In general, tiramisu is served in a very simple dish, but I thought this was very handsome. And this is me obviously munching on some pizza because, yeah, because I'm a little pig. This is what I am. Yes. And now I'm going to say a few words about the tradition of the Italian cuisine in general. This is not only Tuscan. There are a few very important labels which give us an understanding of the quality of the food and the importance of the tradition in the Italian cooking. We have two labels here that concern mainly wine, which is DOC, Denominazione d'origine controllata, which means this is a kind of a guarantee of quality. It means that the grapes of this wine come from specific areas in Italy. It means that there's the same process. It means this is a guarantee of quality. For wine, we have the higher rank, which is DOCG, which means that this is Denominazione d'origine controllata garantita. Guarantee. This is a guarantee that these wines... I'm sorry? I didn't hear you.
No.
This means that the wine is also processed in a very traditional way. There is a percentage of the mixture of the grapes that you can use. These are very specific regulations in terms of wine. And here the central one is Denominazione d'origine protetta, which is like the label of other products, not only wine. And you can find this on Parmigiano Reggiano. If you buy a good chunk of Parmigiano Reggiano, it should have this label on it, which means that the milk comes from the region of Emilia-Romagna, and that it's being processed in the same way that it has been for centuries. So just to...
Can I ask a question?
Yes.
Can we find this label in Israel or only in Italy, or other places around the world, or only in Italy?
Yes, yes, you can. You can find this. I mean, only in imported goods from Italy. The EU, the European Union, has another label, a little bit different. But if you buy stuff that was imported from Italy, then you can. I will show you later. I have a piece of Parmesan cheese, Parmigiano, that I bought here in Israel, and it has this label.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so now we are going to talk a little bit about what are the strengths of Tuscany. Tuscany is, and especially the area around Florence, is very, very fertile. The soil is very, very good for olive trees, as you can see here, olive groves, and obviously for wine. Here we can see I went to visit a fantastic little olive oil factory, and we picked the olives ourselves. It was fantastic, and you can see here these two kinds of olives that make this specific mixture, which makes this olive oil very, very unique. It was fantastic, by the way. I bought 2 bottles. You can see them here. This is called olio nuovo. It was made. This is the oil that the first batch. In Hebrew, we call it rishon lamasik. The first batch of oil when the olives are freshly picked, and this is it has a very specific taste, very punchy, like cut grass, like freshly cut grass. This is you don't have to use a lot of it. It's like another spice, like another condiment. It's fantastic. And of course, we have in Tuscany the famous Chianti wine, Chianti Classico. Chianti is an area between Florence and Siena. And the wine that is made in this region under very strict regulations is called Chianti Classico, and they have to fit some very strict standards in order to get this label. The label you can see here is this kind of black rooster, which is the symbol of the Chianti Classico wine. And this is a nice vineyard just outside of Florence called Castello di Verrazzano, and you can have a really nice tasting of wine. By the way, they have a very particular wine that is called Vin Santo. Vin Santo is very typical of Tuscany, but they make this very unique Vin Santo, which is made of it's a sweet wine, very alcoholic, and it's made of white grapes that are being left to dry for 1 month before they are being processed for wine. It's fantastic. Now, let's get to what we are going to do today. Today we're going to cook the stuff that you will usually not see in restaurants. They are called Gnudi. Gnudi is, it translates to naked, and it means that what we are going to make today is the filling of the ravioli. You can see here, I gave you the quantities of the recipe, but I have to say that in Italian cuisine, in the nonna Italian cuisine, the grandmother, the Italian grandmother, they will never give you precise amounts. They will say quanto basta until it's enough. Okay, so you can follow this these quantities.
כמו מרוקאים ואפריקאים, אגב.
כולם, everybody are cooking בערך, are cooking like, you know, with cooking, you will feel it, you will know, right? This is the Safta way, this is the grandmother's way. So these are our basic ingredients. We have here, today I'm going to use potato flour because this is Pesach, and also I wanted to make it gluten-free. Unfortunately, I know we have some vegans here. This is not a vegan recipe. As you can see, I'm using ricotta cheese. In Florence, it's possible to get sheep ricotta, which is very particular, and it's actually better for this recipe. But I'm in Jerusalem right now, so we have a nice ricotta fresca that I was actually very surprised by the quality of it, I have to say. And yes, eggs today in Israel cost like gold, and nutmeg, egoz muscat, salt, black pepper, of course, grated Parmigiano cheese. So, and for the, we are going to need another little bit of flour to roll these gnudi. And for the sauce, we need about, yes, this is about 70 grams of butter, 2 cloves of garlic, and 4 or 5 leaves of sage, morva, and some more Parmigiano cheese, because you can never have enough Parmigiano, of course. So what we are making today is a very special Tuscan dish. Gnudi means naked, and they are called naked because this is the filling of the ravioli. And I mentioned the ravioli earlier, and this is like one day they woke up and they said, ugh, you know what, I really don't have all the energy to make fresh pasta and to fill it with something, so I'm just gonna use the filling and make a dish out of that. So this is what are we going to do today. And I'm going to stop sharing my thingy, and then, yes. Okay.
Okay.
So let's get cracking. Now, I've already prepared some steamed or sauteed, I sauteed this spinach, okay, and chopped it quite roughly because I like texture. We have here our Parmigiano. I sauteed the spinach with some garlic some cloves of garlic, and I saved them, and we're gonna talk about this later. I have here the sage, some more garlic, the potato flour, butter, egg, ricotta, Parmigiano, and I want to show you the label. This is the label. Can you see it? Yes? Yes. This is the dope. And this is this, I bought it here in Israel. We have nutmeg, we have black pepper, and let's start. So I'm going to chop what I sauteed my spinach, and I've squeezed all the water out, and I let it cool down. So this is something you can actually make in advance. If you don't have the energy to spend all day cooking, you can prepare this in advance. This is by now cold, and it's important that this should not be hot, because when we mix it with the eggs, if the spinach is still hot, it's going to cook the egg and we will get scrambled eggs. So no, this should be cold. So I'm just gonna chop this last batch of spinach. This is my This is my father's. We are being guests at my father's kitchen. This is my father's fancy Japanese blue steel knife. So, yeah. I'm not gonna be too meticulous about it. I'm just gonna very roughly chop it. And now, I'm going to, I've already, when I sauteed it, I used some salt. So it's a little bit salty. I'm gonna add a little bit later some more salt. I'm going to take these cloves of garlic that spent some time with the spinach together, and I'm just gonna add them in. Now, this part is not in the original recipe. Now, my husband is smiling because he knows that I can never ever follow a recipe. I always have to change something. And the Italians, they don't use this. They throw it away. For me, this is gold. I love garlic, so I'm gonna add that in. And I think they're quite soft, I have to say. I'm just gonna chop them very roughly. Try not to chop your fingers as well. Yes. Now, this dish in different regions of Italy can be also called malfatti. Malfatti means made badly or ugly, because it's ugly. It's the filling of the, this is the most Tuscan grandma food, which you will not find in restaurants. That's good enough. Now,
Lee, is the garlic going to be cooked? If not, I'm not eating garlic. The garlic is going to be cooked? We're about to cook the garlic? Okay, so I can put that.
This garlic, the garlic that I've just chopped, is something that was already, that I steamed I steamed my spinach with some cloves of garlic.
Ah, okay, so if I didn't use garlic till now, the garlic is not going to be cooked in some way.
You can do whatever you want.
No, so I'm skipping the garlic. I don't like, okay.
If you don't like, you can totally skip it, yes. Okay, so now we're going to add the ricotta. Here we have about 350 grams of ricotta, and I don't need the entire thing, so I'm going to take some off. And here I'm going to teach you a trick. This is fantastic with just a little bit of honey on top. If you have any figs, this is just, oh, if you have a good ricotta, if you have sheep ricotta cheese, it's even better. So this is very nice. We're going to eat this for dessert. And I'm going to use the rest of the ricotta and some Parmigiano Reggiano. And I'm going to use a spoon, excuse me. Basically just going to unify this together. It's very important to squeeze out all the liquids, because we don't want the spinach to be wet or to be soggy, because this entire mixture needs to be quite firm for it to cook. I have to say that the method of cooking is quite similar to gnocchi. If you've ever made gnocchi, this is similar, because we are going to cook them until they float, but somehow this is still different. Now, I'm going to have a taste. I haven't put the egg in, so I can still taste, and I'm gonna taste just a tiny little bit. Okay, I'm going to need some more salt. I'm going to need to use some more salt. So a little bit goes a long way. And now, are you making it with me? Oh my God, who's making it with me on live? Okay, so I'm going to add, I'm going to add a very important ingredient, which is nutmeg. If you have, if you have only the powder, it's fine. But when you do use a fresh one, it gives so much more flavor. So just, if you can, use this.
We want to go. We want to go with you to Italy, Lee.
You should. You should. I know that now Italy is, you know, it seems like a very not sexy place, but believe me,
we know it's sexy. Now, I guess some of the people here that don't know you are wondering, how do you have such an amazing Italian language? How do you speak this language, Lee? Aren't you from Jerusalem?
I'm from Jerusalem, yes, I am. I have to say that when I arrived to Florence, I had very basic Italian, because we studied a little bit before we moved to Italy, but I picked it up. I used to do babysitting for Italian speaking children. So at first my Italian was very, very basic, like, you know, like children's Italian, like, I don't want to eat this food, and this is yucky, and but when I became a tour guide, I had to do this entire course of studying how to be a tour guide, and this was all in Italian.
Wow.
So I had no choice. So this is how I studied Italian, and I have to say that I have very good friends. I have two friends who I made them, you know, go crazy, because I kept saying, no, you have to correct me, you have to tell me, what am I doing wrong, what am I saying wrong? And they had like an amazing amount of patience for me, and this is how I learned Italian.
Wow.
So okay, so before I add the egg and the flour, I'm just gonna add some pepper, black pepper. This is like a pepper mix. I'm not a huge fan of black pepper, but I'm gonna add just a little bit. I think I'm going to need a little bit more nutmeg. I have a feeling, but we will see later. Now, in order for this to be cooked and not dissolve in the water, in the boiling water, which by the way, the water is boiling right here for about an hour, but waiting for us to start cooking. Okay, so this is the egg, 1 egg for this quantity. It's fine. And based on how soft this is going to be, I am going to add the flour. Again, you can, the original recipe uses regular white wheat flour, but you can switch it to potato flour in this case. I was considering using chickpea flour, but no, because it has too much of a taste. Right, so now I'm going to add, I think I'm going to start, this is, by the way, I sifted this flour, so it doesn't get so lumpy. This is one spoon.
Lee, I'm sorry I missed. The egg should go inside the spinach?
Yes. After
Inside
you've
the
mixed,
spinach.
yes, inside. Gali,
Okay,
I
and
love it that you're cooking with me. I love it.
I thought this is the idea. Now I see that only I am doing it. But,
No, but you're fantastic. But listen, if you're cooking with me and you need it for supper, then you can just leave the mixture to rest in the fridge until you're ready to cook it in the boiling water. Okay?
no, I will eat it now. It's okay.
Okay.
And how much flour? How much flour should I put?
I started with a spoonful of flour. I think I'm going to add a tiny little bit more, like this. That's enough. And then I'm gonna let it rest for a moment when we do our other preparations.
All right, and also the yellow part of the egg, right?
Yes, an entire egg. Yes. Okay, great. So let's put this away. And I think I'm going to need some more nutmeg, but I'm going to leave it here. Okay, so in the meantime, while this is, you know, we want it to be a little bit more solid, so I'm going to leave it to rest. And while this is resting, I'm going to start making the sauce, which is a very, very simple sauce. I didn't mention it, but the Tuscan cuisine is very, very seasonal, which means that we cook what's in season. And another version of this Gnudi comes with a sauce of tomatoes. But this is not quite the season for tomatoes, although today all around the world we have, you know, things all year long. In Italy, it's, you know, tradition to cook only what's in season. So today we're going to do a sauce of sage and butter and some garlic, which is an amazing combination, of course. Very light, okay? So I'm going to chop the sage. I have about 5 leaves of sage. If you need more, use more. This is it. And I have this, talking about seasonal cuisine. This is fresh garlic. Now in Israel, at least, this is the season, April, you know, around Pesach, around Easter, is the season where we get fresh, amazing garlic. And, you know, you just walk into the market or the supermarket and everything's like so fresh. So these are fresh. They're even a little punchier in taste. These are 2 quite large cloves of garlic. I am going to start with 1, and I'm probably going to add the other one as well. As I said, the Tuscan cuisine does not use a lot of fresh garlic, sadly. So usually I add it because this is what I like. But just so you know that the original flavors of garlic are very, very subtle. Okay, so this is going to go into the sauce. Now, as you can see, we had a little bit of a disaster. And a few days ago, we ran out of gas. And so this is not working, and we have to cook. We have to go out camping and use this one here. So I'm just gonna.
So meanwhile, I'm going to disturb you with the last question. Hopefully, yes. Only 1 spoon of potato flour.
I put a spoon and a half, a tablespoon and a half.
Right.
We will see how they come out.
Right.
Oh no, wait. Okay, so no, guys. Okay, so I am going to take the butter This is about, I think, 70 grams of butter. Just gonna pop it in here. While this is melting, and you know there's nothing more fantastic on earth than brown butter, which is like, if you let it burn just a tiny little bit, it becomes brown. It has this kind of rich, nutty flavor, which is just amazing. So I'm gonna let it melt here. And while this is melting, I have a feeling I need some more nutmeg, so I'm just gonna do it now. A little bit of pepper. Yeah, it's okay. A good mix, and we are going to start in a moment to roll these. Now the process is very simple. Usually the traditional way is... No. Wait, sorry. Yeah. It's hard to maneuver. So the traditional size is quite large. They make it like knedalach, this size. For me, this is too big. Oh, by the way, I see I need a little bit more flour. I'm gonna add some more. I do it like, I like it the size of, like gnocchi. Yes, you know, something like this. I'm gonna add some more potato flour. Gali, I added another spoon. We might even need some more. There's much moisture that was left maybe from the ricotta. Okay, so I'm gonna look how beautiful the butter is, a little bit brown, but not too much. And I'm gonna add my salvia, my sage and garlic. Off the fire, because as you can see, this is a, you know, this is a big fire, and I don't want the garlic to burn. When garlic burns, it becomes bitter, and we don't like that. Now, I have a trick. I'm gonna add some smoked salt. Smoked salt is an amazing thing, and if you can get your hands on some nice smoked salt, oof, yes.
What kind of texture are we do we want to achieve with the spinach?
Look, can you see mine? This, I have to say, is a little bit wet, so I'm gonna add even a little bit more, flour. This is really something that you have to find out. You can even, if you feel like you've arrived to the right texture, and you put one in the pot, and it kind of breaks down, so you know you have to add some more. So this is always a good technique. Always try the first one or two, and then see if you need more.
All right, okay.
Okay, so you can see here, the sauce is ready. This is it. This is the easiest sauce in the world. I mean, there's no fussing about. This is so easy. And now what we are going to do, I have here a plate with flour, potato flour in this case. I'm going to take about this size of batter, like the spinach, and I'm going to roll it in here. Now I've added some salt to the water that is boiling in my pot. And we are going to cook it in a minute. I'm not going to do the entire batch right now. This doesn't have to be, they should be ugly. If they're not ugly, then you're doing it wrong. Malfatti, made badly. And I think this is a nice alternative to gnocchi because, first of all, spinach is very healthy. And if you like it, then yes, I think it's fantastic. It's lighter than gnocchi. I mean, you don't feel as heavy afterwards. And let's make some, like, 3 more. This is like making knedlach. If you've ever made knedlach, it's a little similar. My mother-in-law usually uses some water. She wets her hands and she makes them, but I couldn't be bothered. I'm sorry. I'm too late.
For our non-Jewish guest, knedlach is matzah balls.
Yeah.
Made of matzah. Okay, Olivia knows already.
Yes.
Too many years with Israelis.
Okay, so here we have, you know, this tiny batch. This is what I'm going to cook right now. Let's, oh, wow. Let's see, we need to add some more water.
How much should the bowl be inside the boiling water? How much time?
Long?
How long?
I'm gonna tell you something that the Italian grandmother says, until it's ready. That's, some of the water is evaporated, so I am going to quickly. I'm actually going to just add this right now. And this is actually very good because this batter needs to stand a little before it before we make it. And this is the time to tidy the kitchen. But first, I am going to taste this, which this is really so nice. This is the leftover ricotta cheese with some honey, which is just amazing. This is fantastic. If you have anything with a little bit of lemon, like lemon zest or fig or any other fruit, this is fantastic. Now, I don't know, Connie, you have to say, do we have time to wait for the water to boil or do we have to finish?
We are almost done. How long will it take? About 1 to 2 minutes? Okay.
I think so.
Okay, so meanwhile, does anyone have any question for to Lee?
Yes, I've seen.
Chef Lionel, do you have anything to ask?
Not really.
Okay, good. Eyal, does anyone want to buy tickets to Florence?
לי יש שאלה.
Oh, יעל.
אני לא שפית וזה, אבל אפשר לעשות את זה גם עם תרד שמגיע קפוא?
שאלה מצוינת. Yael is asking, is it possible to use frozen spinach? Now, the answer is yes, you can. The official answer of the Italian cuisine would be never. I recommend, because the taste is different. I mean, now that we are at home all the time, we have all the time in the world. So don't be lazy and use fresh spinach. The very important thing about fresh spinach is to wash it very, very well. It arrives, usually full of sand and dirt, and very often insects and snails, shablulim, and usually also, you know, they pick the entire bunch. So usually there are also some kind of wild grass or whatever that we don't necessarily want to eat. So yes, I prefer to use fresh spinach and just wash it very, very carefully and saute it with a little bit of olive oil and some garlic. But you can, if you don't have time or you couldn't be bothered, then you can use also frozen spinach.
Olivia is asking,
Yes.
when you cook the spinach at the start, do you cook it in butter?
I use olive oil because just a little bit of olive oil. Now I'm going to put the malfatti, the gnudi, inside.
I must know how much time, how long.
So how long?
It's not accurate.
It's not accurate.
Because of the egg. I'm very not good at accurating time for cooking.
Okay, so this is fantastic. Your question is fantastic. Like when we make gnocchi, we want them to float, but because I also have some egg inside, I'm not gonna pull them out, take them out as soon as they float. I'm gonna give them another minute. So the water have to be boiling hot, you know, this is boiling hot. And we can see I'm actually very gently, because they are very delicate, I'm very gently just swooshing them around because I don't want them to stick to the bottom of the pan. But you can see that they are starting to float, and this will take, this is very, once you cook them, it's very quick.
קניידלח בקיצור.
Kneidalach, it's the same as
Which also
kneidalach.
I've never done.
Okay.
This year it was an opportunity because I made the cheddar all by myself. So if I didn't do this year, I'm not expecting anything from myself.
When the corona is over, you will be a chef in the kitchen. Now, you will notice that when I take them out, because there is some flour inside, they're rising a little bit. They will be a tiny little bit bigger. This is why I'm not making them very big to begin with. And I like them rather small. I'm gonna give it another minute. And
So what's the distance between Florence and Rome? So you live in Florence itself?
I live in Florence, and when I go to Rome, I take a high-speed train. It takes an hour and a half, which is, you know, at the beginning it seemed so, oh my God, an hour and a half, but now it's like very, very comfortable, you know, travel.
So you do food tours or cultural tours or both?
In Rome, I do usually cultural art tours, and but in Florence, which is where I live, I do, you know, the whole thing. And my passion is for art and history and architecture and whatever, but also obviously the food is a very important element in the Italian culture. So I do everything.
They didn't get ugly. They look beautiful from here.
So yeah, they're kind of ugly, but they're, you know, they're average looking.
I'll make them tomorrow.
This is not like a Michelin sort of dish. But what we are going to do right now is put them in the sauce. Usually I would warm this up, but now we don't have much time. So I'm just gonna give them a quick roll in this beautiful buttery sauce. Get all the good flavors here. Yes. And
okay.
yeah.
Which flour do you use not in Passover?
Just regular white flour. Wheat. And now, of course, we cannot finish an Italian dish without some Parmigiano Reggiano. So this receives another, this is like snow. Another nice coating of Parmigiano. And this is it.
Wow.
This is the finished dish. And I'm going to take a fork because I haven't eaten all day. And I'm going to taste this right now. So first of all, yes, this is cooked all the way through, which is good. Yes, yes, this is very good. First of all, this is very well balanced, I have to say. Not too salty, not too spicy, not too whatever, but it's still very nice in flavor. I'm sure that the Italian grandmother would not add garlic into the mixture. But what can I say? I'm an Israeli, so this is better.
Olivia is asking if you don't have sage, if you can use another herb for the butter sauce. Odman.
Well, butter and sage, oh, this is so good. Butter and sage is like a very classic, simple sauce for pasta, but you can, you know, just butter and garlic, and maybe some lemon zest to add afterward, like after the butter is melted with a little bit of salt and garlic, then add some lemon zest. It's not the classical traditional way, but it's so good, so why not?
Can't you use thyme instead?
Using thyme instead. You can use whatever you want. I'm going to, like, my philosophy is take the basic recipe and then do whatever you like to do with it. This is not the traditional Italian way, but who cares? If you like it, if it's good, and yes. So yes, you can ask me more questions while I eat, because this is fabulous. And brown butter is the best thing in the world. So if you have any more questions, I'm happy to answer.
Something about opera, Lee? Why do I connect you with opera singing?
I don't sing opera. I sing jazz. I'm a singer. I used to sing for many years in Israel. I used to teach singing.
Why did you quit?
Why did I quit? I didn't quit. I just became a tour guide, and then, you know, business went so well and I became so busy that I stopped performing. But now I'm not working as a tour guide, so I think you will see me maybe on Zoom singing again.
Okay, Lee, it was more than amazing, or as my nonna say, bravo.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Toda raba.
Thank you, that was wonderful.
I want to teach you one last thing. The Italians have this kind of sign language with their hands. They talk a lot with their hands. When something is very tasty, they do like this. Or the children, when something is tasty, children do like this. I have a dimple because I ate a lot and it was tasty.
Thank you very much. Thank you all for joining our culinary
Thank
adventure. I hope you can
Thank you
join us
very much.
also on Friday evening. Bye bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye.
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 Ciao a tutti, ciao.
Ciao, ciao.
Bye.